Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm Jewish-ish.
Hi, I'm Fatima, and I'm Muslim-ish.
Hi, I'm Damien, and I'm an atheistic Jew, and no, that is not an oxymoron.
And we're sinners.
The only experience any of us have with Christianity is fringe experience.
Yet we still feel the need to speak on preachy Christian movies and other media we found on the internet.
Because they feel the need to speak on our shit. Oh, how the turntables.
We all have our stories to tell, our own paths to faith in Christ. Some are kookier than others, like finding Jesus in a piece of driftwood. Yeah, more on that in a second. But for me, I didn't see it coming. I thought I was looking for a guy to stick a ring on my finger, my Mr. Right. But along the way, something wonderful happened. I found him. That's him with a capital H.
It's just badly written.
Then it's like the fucking Christian rock song that they have at the beginning.
They have 3 Christian rock songs.
And they actually have, they have one Christian rock song, which is at the beginning, and then they have a Christian pop song in the middle that's like a weird, like, almost Taylor Swifty song that they played twice because they couldn't afford another one. And then they have a third one at the end that nobody cares about because it's for the credits.
It's like weird acoustic Christian pop rock. If you didn't see the title of this podcast, we're going to be talking about a movie called Christian Mingle, which, yes, is exactly what it sounds like.
Let's start off with the Wikipedia description.
All right, I have it right here.
I've seen it more times than everybody else here. I've seen it 3.5 times.
Like, I've seen this twice now.
3.5.
I just saw it for the first time, and it was enlightening. I found Jesus.
I've seen it 3.5 times. I recommended it to so many people because I love it so much. I can't explain I will try to explain my feelings on this movie.
All right, here we go. Here's the plot according to Wikipedia. Busy ad executive Gwyneth Hayden, who, by the fucking way, is the same girl who plays Gretchen. Yeah, who plays Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girls, has been unsuccessful in love, seeing that a friend has become engaged, leaving.
Yeah, Anne Marie gets engaged in the beginning, and you see it on Facebook.
Yeah,
and because she's like, "There's no way I'm going to be the last one who's single. Anne Marie's going to be the last one single," which is really fucking rude to Anne Marie.
Yeah, like Anne Marie really got her. Anne Marie snapped back. Anne Marie clapped back.
Anne Marie went out and she glowed up.
Anne Marie clapped back with that wedding ring.
Where's Anne Marie's story?
Honestly.
Seeing that a friend has become engaged, leaving her as the last single woman in her group. And after seeing an advert for the dating website Christian Mingle, she signs up.
What British person wrote this?
Sorry, I don't speak Union Jack. She confesses to her coworker Pam, and she hasn't been to church in years, despite having been brought up Christian. And before going on a date with Paul, she buys the Bible for dummies and Christianity for dummies. Which is technically a motif. But
oh, we'll get into motifs later. The fucking cheese motif in this movie is just
and the cookies.
Disgusting.
Don't forget the cookies.
The chili cheese dogs. After a couple of successful dates, Paul takes Gwyneth to a Bible study group at his friend's house. She meets Jesse and Jimmy, a couple who also meet through the site, Gabby and Tommy, who are expecting their first child, and Kelly, whose nickname is, what, Kel?
Kel. Kel from Bible Camp.
This one's Bible
Camp.
Well, I put them by in Bible Camp.
You also put the camp in Bible Camp.
Yeah.
And Kelly, a childhood friend of Paul's.
It seems to imply more than friend, because she, pretty much winks at him when she says Bible Camp.
We all know what happens at Bible Camp.
What happens at Bible Camp stays at Bible Camp.
We were just on a website about...
That's a different episode. That's a different episode.
That's for a whole other episode.
Okay, we'll cover that later. But Paul asks Gwyneth to go to church and meet his parents, Lacey and Bill, which are the most white people names ever.
Also, how does Wikipedia know these people's names? I forgot these people's names the second they were said.
I forgot Paul's name, and his name is Paul Wood.
Paul Wood is iconic.
You can make so many dick jokes out of Paul Wood.
The company's name is fucking... What was the name of the, I wrote it down in my... Wood Development. Wood Development is the name of their company. family's company. I'm like, if that's not a boner joke, I don't know what is.
Well, develop your wood. Fuck, where was I? Okay. After Gwyneth meets with Jesse, Jimmy, Gabby, Tommy, and Kelly, Paul reveals that he will be traveling to Mexico with his father's construction company to repair a church in Mexico.
Okay, hold on. That doesn't mention the fact that he's leaving the next day for a month.
Like,
and doesn't tell his girlfriend, and you're still supposed to like him as a person.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot of reasons. This is the We Hate Paul Wood fan club. Anti-fan club.
We're the Carpenters.
No, that's for people who want to nail Paul Wood.
Oh, you think there's like a Tumblr fandom that just wants to nail Paul Wood?
Yes.
Like, I feel like that's a thing. There's fan art. There's Mpreg fan art.
Probably. Can we not talk about Mpreg fan art of Paul Wood?
That is my nightmare.
I did not want to have that mental image.
Sorry.
And listen, I'm in the Venom fandom. I've seen some shit. Like, Alright, okay, where the fuck was I? Paul reveals that he will be traveling to Mexico with his father's construction company to repair a church in Mexico. Gwyneth is annoyed that she wasn't told, but is persuaded to join everyone in Mexico. Drinking game, take a shot every time they say Mexico.
Oh god, if we did that.
Oh goodness.
That's a different special.
Okay, I have a tally. If we took a shot every time somebody said a word like kooky or spunky, or like a word that real human people don't say, then we would be dead. Based on the tally that I've created,
dead.
we would all
The
be
number is dead.
The number is dead. How many fucking...
Well, considering that I apparently got blackout from our one Thanksgiving party after about maybe, I would say, half a Mickey of vodka and 2 beers, to the point that I apparently passed out on my way home and did not remember this.
You passed out?
Apparently. Like,
So I counted 14. But I think I missed some, because it's impossible to catch all of them. Because this movie goes by so quickly, but also so slowly.
Yeah, it's so long. It
somehow
just keeps
both.
going
Somehow
and
both.
going, and you're
It's-
like, she found Jesus. How many more times can she find Jesus? How many
This
times
was-
is she gonna walk past that church?
This is the longest hour and 40 minutes that I've ever spent in my life doing anything, and I've seen this movie 3.5 times.
why would you subject yourself to that?
For this, because I wanted to make a podcast. Because
Don't we all? Listen, making a podcast is the millennial let's start a band, so...
yes, it really is. That's why we're here. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
All 12 of our friends listening to this.
Woo! Everyone in the gay group. Alright. She takes time off from her job, but while there, her copy of Christianity for Dummies is discovered.
Why
And
did
she-
she bring it to Mexico?
She needed to take notes. She needed a refresh. Don't you know? Haven't you learned from psychology class that cramming is not the right way to
I'm
study?
not in psychology.
Okay, well, you should have taken it because clearly you don't know what's up.
Yeah.
Honestly, both of you to assume I ever do the readings or study for anything, so...
Well, our professor made it very clear several times that you can't cram and you have to space out your studying. She was clearly just being a logical, good student.
Because all of us are logical and good students here.
Well, I mean, when you're studying
Here.
Christianity, you must be.
Here at University of Toronto. Also, I would like to make note of the fact that there is a cat in this room, and his name is Peaches, and he's biting me, but I love him.
Somehow he hasn't bitten the mic yet.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
hear some weird audio, it's probably him just running
Would
around.
you like to introduce yourself? 'Cause
Yeah, I'm the editor. I'm gonna fix this audio after this. They're holding me hostage!
Okay, where the fuck was I? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, she takes time off from her job while there, her copy of Christianity for Dummies is discovered, and she confesses to Paul that she wasn't a practicing Christian when she signed up for the site, which, by the way, the issue here is not that she wasn't Christian when she signed up for Christian Mingle, it's that she wasn't Christian enough. It's like...
And that he wasn't willing to help her become more Christian. Like, isn't the whole point of being a Christian missionary? Not just the sex position, but like missionary work?
I mean, I don't know. I'm the only thing I know about like missionaries, I know like about Mormons and their weird missionary shit. But you know, that's all I really know. I don't really.
I know that if somebody said, I'm willing to learn and would like you to help me find Jesus, you don't say no. That's like the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's literally the best possible situation is somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I would like to learn more about your faith and why you believe what you believe and help me understand it."
Yeah.
And the fact that he's just like, "No, I think you should leave Mexico and go home and never speak to me again, girl that I'm in love with."
Clearly he had a thing for Cal.
I'm pretty. I mean, I know I said this before, but I'm pretty sure that Gwyneth has a Jesus kink.
Yes. Gwyneth has a Jesus kink.
She just wants to get nailed.
Faces. Yeah, like
Gwyneth is horny for Jesus.
Honestly, I'm horny for Jesus. Have you seen Jesus? Like buff Jesus? Like when buff Jesus on
We
a
can
cross?
cut this if you want.
No, we are not cutting this. This stays in. Buff Jesus with the long hair and the beard. Ooh.
White Jesus?
White guys are, but you know.
Why is Jesus always portrayed with blonde hair and blue eyes? He was Middle Eastern.
Because white people.
He was a Middle Eastern Jew. Like,
yeah, I probably look closer to Jesus than depictions of Jesus look like Jesus.
Fuck, this is. Y'all seen Book of Mormon?
Yes, I have seen.
Have you heard of the All-American Prophets?
The blonde-haired, blue-eyed voice of God?
That's just depictions
But
of
that's
Jesus.
Joseph Smith, specifically.
That's
talking
supposed to be-
there.
yeah,
That's because
supposed to
Jesus
be-
wasn't white enough, so they made Joseph Smith.
Literally, Jesus wasn't white enough for Mormon. They had to get a new white Jesus.
Yeah, what I know about Mormonism, that sounds about right. They break up, and she returns to America. When Paul and his family returns, Gwyneth goes to see him and learns that he is with Kelly. Oh, plot twist.
Nobody's surprised.
Kelly and Paul have had a thing for years. That is just established fact. It's not even a headcanon.
Wait, Sarah, weren't you saying that, if this movie was from Kelly's perspective, it would be a psychological thriller?
Yeah. Kelly, honestly, I feel bad for Kelly. There's no reason to hate her. The movie clearly doesn't want to depict her as bad because she's Christian and they don't want to depict any Christians as bad. But at the same time, they have to have some kind of conflict. So they have Kelly be, kind of passive-aggressive sometimes in a way that could be interpreted as her still being nice. I don't understand Kelly.
Who the fuck is she?
And she's just yeah, I mean, I hate this.
Kelly is the model Christian, but somehow she's still not good enough.
But she doesn't get the guy.
She doesn't get the guy.
She's a good Christian, but she doesn't get the guy. What's up with that? Where's
Guys,
Kelly's happy
this movie
ending?
is actually revolutionary. That's the conclusion we're coming to. At the end of this podcast, we're going to give you our glowing review of this movie, this revolutionary movie.
This movie changed all of our lives, and we're all this is the first episode, but this movie converted all of us, and now we're gonna just talk about how much we love Christian film.
I found Jesus.
In a
We'll get to that.
Her boss, Douglas McCarver, that was his name? I don't think they ever gave us his name.
His nickname was the Admiral.
They never gave us his name.
No, he's bald guy who wears a hat and is gay-coded.
Yeah, he's very gay-coded, and for some reason, this advertising company is very naval-themed.
It's not just very naval-themed. It's called maritime advertising, and there's just boats everywhere.
And the boss is dressed like a captain.
There's no reason for any of this to be happening.
But let's not forget the best part of the advertising scene, which is Donnie DeBona.
Donnie DeBona.
Who, by the way, he just looks like skinny Guy Fieri mixed with Liam Neeson.
Can I just say, the moment he walked into her office, I was like, when is the Me Too moment happening?
Already, just looking, his eyes.
The way he looked, I was like, oh god, this man makes me uncomfortable. I felt a shiver.
Honestly, this is every single time that look is every single time I've been catcalled in one look.
So who is Donnie DeBona? What should we introduce him?
Donnie DeBona comes in right now, actually.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Her boss, Douglas McCarver, I think that's how I pronounce that, has Gwyneth write a campaign to sell a cure for baldness for their client Donnie DeBona, which, by the way, DeBona are two words. They're not the same last name.
Wait, it's not DeBona like a single name.
No, it's Donnie, like D-A, and then Bona.
His middle name is Duh.
DeBona, okay.
But she cannot lie due to her newly discovered faith, and quits to go become a teacher at the village in Mexico. I'm pretty sure that you can still lie when you're Christian. I don't think you're immediately going to hell.
No, if you'll burst into flames. If you're a true Christian and tell a lie, you'll burst into flames.
That's a fact. That's why no Christian has ever lied before.
It's like that scene. It's like that fucking scene in Book of Mormon. Was just like,
Y'all need to stop referencing musical theater. I will not get it.
What is it? Just like
Spooky Mormon Hell Dream.
It was right before. It was like the precursor to Spooky Mormon Hell Dream, where one of the background elders.
Being gay is bad, but lying is worse.
No, not that.
Because that is also a line from Book of Mormon.
That is also a line from Book of Mormon. But like, one of the elders was saying, I once told a lie, and that night I had a dream that I went to hell. Which Mormons don't really have a concept of hell, but like.
But they have Spooky Mormon Hell Dream.
They have Spooky Mormon Hell Dream. Anyway, we're getting okay.
Well, we might have to cut some of this Book of Mormon discussion and save it for the Book of Mormon episode.
Please have a Book of Mormon episode. That's my favorite.
If enough people watch this and we end up having a Patreon, watch out for that Book of Mormon episode.
Please pay us tithings to our Patreon. All right, here's the last paragraph. Some months later, Paul returns to the village to tell Gwyneth that he has broken up with Kelly, and he and Gwyneth happily reunite. Gwyneth then, hand in hand with Paul, introduces him to her students. Paul proposes to Gwyneth during the end credits.
That's how I saw. So we finished the movie, and I had watched it through fully 3 times. And I went on the Wikipedia page to look at the synopsis, and I saw that last line, and I said, "Everybody, we have to just keep watching until this end credit scene."
There's an end credit scene.
There's an end credit scene.
There's an extended universe. Like I was expecting some Marvel character to show up.
Thanos is just there with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Fucking Captain
Snaps and Paul would dissolve. Sorry, spoilers for Infinity War.
I think at this point it's your fault if you haven't seen Infinity War yet.
More like I was expecting Nick Fury to show up and tell her that she was the next Avenger.
Oh my god. Plot twist.
Her power being Christian.
Her power is her kooky quotes. Her kooky turns. Because the movie keeps emphasizing how cool and interesting she is.
When she's really not.
Kind of come up with thing. What the fuck? Even though she's says sweet cheeses at one point, and that's supposed to be oh, look how cute and fun
as in
and
cheese, as in the food.
Because somebody said cheese. Because Paul said something. Cheese is a reoccurring thing throughout this. It's a motif. It's a bound motif in this movie.
Hi, I taught them those terms. I have to say that as the film major of the group. It's
Yeah, but so Nick Fury shows up at the end and it's just you are joining the Avengers because you have the power to say quirky things.
Honestly, that's basically the power to say quirky things is most Marvel characters.
Honestly, yeah. Isn't that Spider-Man's entire thing?
And the webs a little bit.
Yeah, Spider-Man's main power is just saying cool comebacks, but he's got the webs too, I guess, which aren't even part of his powers.
Around in the air
which aren't even part of his powers. He made the web shooters because he's just that dramatic. But
there's that one movie where it's part of his powers.
Let's not talk about the fact that I could see that coming out of his wrists, okay?
There's the hook 'em horns and it works. Hi, my family lives in Texas. I know what the hook 'em horns are.
Okay, so I guess now that we're done that summary, we can get into the nitty gritty of the movie. So I want to start off with.
Is there nitty gritty?
we can get.
Things just happen.
Is there any meat to this? Is there anything that we can actually analyze below the surface level? Let's be real
we
here.
can analyze the racism.
That's true.
Rampant in this
film.
film.
Oh God.
All right. Well, anyway, let's get down and dirty with Jesus.
Yes.
Welcome to Bible study. We're all children of Jesus.
So the first shot is her going on a date with a guy and talking about France and how apparently, according to her, in France, you can eat as much as you want but not gain a pound, which doesn't sound about right. As someone who's been to France.
Yeah, no, that's not how it works there.
I guess that's another thing that's just supposed to be look how cute and fun she is, and she travels. She's so interesting.
Yeah.
And
and she rides a bike everywhere instead of driving.
Yeah.
And anyway, while she's on the date, the guy is checking out other women and much younger women who are conventionally attractive or whatever. And then the idea is that all men are pigs and whatever, except the Christian ones.
Can we also talk about how incredibly Jewish coded this guy that she's on a date with?
He's a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
He's a doctor.
He's a doctor, and like pretty much like a Nazi cartoon. He looks like a Nazi cartoon of a Jewish person.
Honestly.
And it's really bad.
That's just, don't do that. That's bad. There's my TED Talk.
Don't do that. That's bad.
Yeah. That's me trying to articulate anything in my tutorial classes.
Okay, continue.
Alright, so what happens after that?
Nothing. Nothing happened.
Like, this movie is just fucking
then
nothing.
She talks with her friends for a while.
Oh, yes, and she disses her friend Anne-Marie.
She disses her friend Anne-Marie so much. But then we get a line that every single gay that I have watched this with, including myself, has taken a while to decipher what the fuck this line means. Because one of her friends says, "Oh, our husbands are running out of guys." She's like, "You're running out of guys. Our husbands are running out of guys." And we're all like, what? Does that, what?
Is everyone here just polyamorous?
Just like, hold on. What? And it took us entirely too long every time to figure out that they meant that their husbands were running out of friends that were available to set her up with.
Oh yeah, can I actually talk about something that actually bothered me a lot from that very first scene throughout the entire movie? Because I am that... Because again, my film major ways won't let me go. But
that's why you're here.
That's why I'm fucking here. I should be watching Moonlight and Spirited Away for a goddamn film assignment that I need to do for actual grades and university credit, but instead I'm here.
You're watching Christian Mingle again.
Okay. Their fill light either just didn't work or it was the same setting as their key light. It was bad, which I guess I need to explain what the fuck that means now.
Congratulations if you know what that means, because none of us do.
Okay, so you got your 3-point lighting structure, and any conventionally made film, you have your 3-point lighting structure, is the typical way that people set this up. So you have your 3 lights, you have your key light, which is where you want your main light source to be coming from, that's supposed to be your brightest light. Then you have your fill light to fill in the shadows on the other side of their face. I'm doing a lot of hand gestures, even though no one can see it.
Great for an audio medium.
I'll add in pictures.
But yeah, then you have your fill light on the other side that's supposed to fill in the shadows on your subject's face, or like the front of your subject, I guess, if you're not filming a person. And then you have your backlight, which kind of it separates your subject from the background, so that you have some sort of depth.
Oh, I sort of get this. It's the same thing in photography.
Yeah. And the thing is about their fill light...
I'm just confused, but it's fine.
Yeah, the thing is about their fill light, they didn't have it on, or it was the same setting as their key light, so their faces were just weirdly bright and 2-dimensional.
And gray. Everything was gray.
Everything!
And beige.
And like bluish,
a lot of beige.
Like bluish and gray and beige. This whole movie.
Listen, color is going to be one of my specialties. And like, their entire color palette is beige.
This movie is like a reverse Wes Anderson movie.
It is! Holy shit!
He has to steal color from other movies for his movies, and this was one of the big
Oh my god, we solved it. We solved it.
Anderson is a color vampire.
Exactly.
He's not only sensitive guy number 5 in your poetry class, he's also a color vampire. So he'll drain that from you too, including your
And apparently
sanity.
his source are Christian movies.
Honestly, that would explain a lot. That would also be where he gets all of his narrative structures.
Alright.
And his cinematography.
Alright, so after her date, she goes home and has a TV on in the background, which is playing some random ads. One of which, by the way, was a guy yelling at the viewer to stop being poor.
It's
literally.
That was apparently a cameo from one of the producers.
Okay, one of the producers just came and yelled at us, "Stop it! Stop being poor!"
He held up a book about, like, I guess he was supposed to be advertising a book, and we paused it and looked, and literally the book said, "Stop being poor, join the 1%," which is also what he yelled.
Guys, I think this is just Paul Ryan.
I laughed too loud.
T. Fun fact, poli-sci is my other major.
I'm also in poli-sci.
Woo! Oof, I can do something with that degree. I don't know what. Like, there's something.
Alright, so then after that, she goes into work, and her boss is, as we mentioned, dressed as a ship's captain, because the entire company that she works at is ship-themed? What?
It's maritime advertisements.
And it's never mentioned again in the plot, it just is in the background, serves no purpose whatsoever.
Speaking of in the background of her workplace,
Oh my
there
god.
is a poster that is in her office that every single time there is an important scene in her office makes an appearance. And it is of a small dog, and it's clearly a dog food advertisement. And this poster says size doesn't matter above this little dog. And we've determined that this was subliminal messaging saying that Christian guys with small dicks should just be accepted. Because it's so prominent in the movie. Like, there'll be a scene where the boss will come in yelling at her about something, and it's just in the background, and it's distracting. Unless it's supposed to be there. Unless it's product placement.
Did I mention when she was going to work, she came in on a bike, and she was biking on the sidewalk like a buffoon?
Listen, Fatima.
There was a bike lane in that shot.
Listen, I know that no one does that here, but like that's not too out of place in literally any other city in the world. Like
I can more that she was wearing a hat under her helmet for no reason.
Yeah, what the fuck was that? She looked like she was gonna go horseback riding.
Oh, also, I don't know who did the costume design for this movie, but I hate them.
No,
Alright.
You know who did the costume design for this movie? Whoever the fuck did the costume design for the like Disney sitcoms.
Oh my god, yes!
Oh,
She looks like she's about to go and shake it up.
I didn't mean to laugh.
She does. She does look like she's got like the cardigan layered over like the skirt with the leggings.
Yeah,
and
patterned
the
leggings,
socks.
patterned skirt.
And like so many patterns that are just overlapping. Like she could be back to back with Bella Thorne on like fucking whatever.
Well, there was that Miranda Cosgrove movie that we were looking at.
There's a
Oh my god,
Miranda
yes, we
Cosgrove
will
Christian
get to a
horse
Miranda Cosgrove Christian movie, just you wait.
It's also a horse girl movie, so it's like a fucking trifecta. It's like...
Alright, so after her boss walks into her office, walks in the most diversity you're ever gonna get in this movie. One black woman.
No, there's more.
There's
more
more
at that
in
church.
the church
Oh,
scene.
right! But then,
It was...
They're background extras.
yeah, but they didn't have speaking roles except for Maria with the terrible accent.
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
my fucking god.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that like they only use non-white people as props in this movie, but they also kind of only use white people as props in this movie. Everybody's kind of just props in this movie.
Even the main characters are kind of
to
just
deliver
props.
the message of you should get a Christian Mingle account. Except for that's kind of also not the message because the guy she meets is awful, and they don't even try to make him not awful. But we'll get into that.
And while we're on the topic of race, she calls her black female coworker Oprah, like as a joke, but also that's not cool.
Yeah, and then she retorts saying like, "Oh, don't call me Oprah," and that's supposed to be like the funniest thing.
So funny that they put it in the ad for the movie.
Also, why did you also watch the trailer? Like,
Listen.
we have the Christian Mingle fan here.
Okay, no. I've made several other people watch it too.
So she goes home again, and on the TV comes up another ad for Christian Mingle, and at this point, she's desperate and she finds out that her friend was engaged and decides she's gonna sign up too.
Yeah, oh, she sees her second Christian Mingle ad on the TV.
Yes, there were two Christian Mingle
ads. So there was
ads.
the first one, and then there's another one later on when she's reflecting on how Christian Mingle has affected her life.
Yeah, and then like the actual director made a couple cameos as like the bike fixer dude.
Yeah.
And she was so thirsty for him. Like, this is where the Jesus kink comes in. Like, she saw that cross on his neck and was like, I need that cross inside me.
This one time at Bible camp.
You can't make references to things that we said before we started recording.
Listen,
the
if
podcast.
anyone listening has seen American Pie, they will know where I'm going with that. I'm just going to put that out there. Fuck, what happens at Bible camp stays at Bible camp. Oof. Except for the STDs.
So when she's on Christian Mingle, she's filling in the form, and of course, for her church, what does she put in? The most creative name for a church you've ever heard. God's Church.
Yeah, can we deconstruct that? Because
God's Church, no apostrophe.
Can we just... She could have Googled churches in her area.
Yep.
And then put literally any of them in.
But she had to be the most Christian. She had to be like, I'm not at like Our Lady Mary's church. I'm not at Saint whoever's church. I'm at God's church. She She's at the top tier church.
None of these saints in the way going straight for God.
Fuck.
Also, the fact that Christian Mingle the movie shows you that the website gives you the option to say, I only go to church once in a while. I go to church on just holidays. I go every month, and I go every week. And she brilliantly picks every week. Like, she could have said, I only go to church on, like, holidays. That's an option that Christian Mingle, the website, allows. I don't understand why she didn't pick that. I guess it's so the movie has conflict in it. But there were just more interesting ways that they could have done this movie.
Because what was the point of that? Like, it was never really established before that she has insecurities about how she's not Christian enough or whatever, or how she feels some weird sort of guilt about it. Because that would have been, like, a good build-up. This is honestly just narrative laziness.
Yeah, if there had been, like, a moment when maybe her mom called her and said something, and she, like, if she had at some point been more religious and had fallen away from it, and, like, now she was coming back to it because of this, that would have been interesting.
We need the extended cut.
There is no
the director's cut.
We need the director's cut.
The director, bicycle guy's cut.
What is his name? I know his...
That's the whole director's cut, it's just bicycle guy.
I want to say his name is Chad.
No, his name is not Chad. There's no way.
It was something...
Honestly, he was a Chad.
Corbin Burnson. Corbin Burnson, if you're listening to this and you have a director's cut of this, or you know, if anybody knows where we can find one, please just tell us.
Send it to us at...
cinemacenter666@gmail.com.
Yeah, cinemacenter666 at gmail.com. Fuck.
So after she's done filling out the form, she uploads a 10-year-old picture of herself to the website and decides it's time to go looking for dates. And she finds one. And she ends up going on a date with this guy, Paul Wood, at a coffee shop.
Yeah, people talk about how that movie Sierra Burgess is a Loser is a movie about catfishing, where the catfish wins at the end. This is also that. This is also a movie about catfishing that is pro-catfishing.
Yeah, because the main character is the catfish, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, she is lying about her identity on a dating website.
Okay, so on the date, nothing happens. The guy says maybe 2 lines other than, hi, hello, my name is Paul Wood, and he mentions his mama and his papa. And then, when he offers to buy her a cookie, she whispers to herself, sold, and that was it. She was in love.
Which is actually a reference to something she said earlier, where she's like, I just need a guy who'll look at me and, like, smile.
That's technically a motif.
It is technically, yeah.
The phrase sold is technically a motif in this movie, and I fucking hate it. I hate every motif in this movie, and I've seen some truly shit motifs. Like,
she prays over coffee. That's the big comedy part that happens in the scene, is she's not quite sure how to be Christian enough for him. So she prays over the coffee in like a way that's like, clearly this is supposed to be like where the comedy comes from in this romantic comedy, is like from her not knowing how to be Christian, because there's multiple scenes of her poorly praying.
Yeah. What
like forgetting to say amen.
Yeah, like she forgets to say amen at the end of, so she just kind of like awkwardly continues one time, and then like this time she's just like doesn't know, like, I know how to do a prayer thing. I could figure that out. How stupid. She's supposed to be so clever and like good with words, but she can't figure out how to do a fake prayer.
Not to mention, when it switches to this scene, when he gets the coffee and the cookie and comes back to her, we get a delicious crossfade. The editing, brilliant. Truly a model for our generation.
Revolutionary. That's the other thing. The cinematography was the most bland shit I have ever seen in my goddamn life. And like,
you didn't like when the words came across the screen, like they made it in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fuck.
The Windows Movie Maker asked animations that said, after Christmas, Christmas Day, in pink text, mind you.
Yeah, that was bad. And like, I mean, we were just covering classical Hollywood cinema in my film class about 2 weeks ago, and that was a time when the only cinematography anyone knew was wide-angle shots and deep space and deep focus, which is basically when you got your entire subject and your entire background in the same shot, you're on the same level, and everything is in focus, nothing is blurry. That was every goddamn movie, and this was somehow more bland than that. Like,
and this movie came out in like 2014. Like, with today's technology, you gotta do something interesting, and you gotta have lighting that's not garbage.
Yeah, the lighting was goddamn same through the whole thing.
And there's like interesting things you could have done with lighting and with colors in this movie to like show how much she's changing. Like you could have had her outfits changing more than just in one scene she's wearing beige because she doesn't know what to wear to church, so she just wears beige.
Can we take a moment to appreciate how low her standards are in men? Because
her standards are so low.
he said 2 sentences and she was like, "This is the man
Right.
for me," and he has no personality whatsoever beyond a slight Oedipal complex.
Wait, guys.
Oh, he was
guys,
in a band once.
He was in a band once.
Guys, I suddenly understand the color palette. It's so bland and it's so beige because it represents her taste in men.
Oh my god, it's brilliant.
Yeah. This should be a horror movie about how bad men are, honestly.
Like,
Like,
I was
like-
scared.
This Paul Wood character is made of wood.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
There's also...
They could have cast a plank of wood and it would have had more character than Paul Wood.
Listen,
been
I'm
What was,
actually...
interesting to
what was that review that you found?
What are you talking about?
The one about it's not a straw man, it's just a pile of hay?
No, that wasn't a review I found, that was a thing that I thought.
Okay.
It's this movie, like, none of the people act like real people, and, like, it's not trying to argue against anything. It's not a straw man, it's a pile of hay, was what I wrote in my notes. And I'm like, I was so fucking proud of that line.
That is about 10 times funnier than anything in this movie. Like, honestly, the comedy was written by someone who has been locked in a bunker for their entire life. Like,
Alright, let's move on to their second date.
okay.
Where did they go for their second date? A sushi place.
Oh yeah, by the way,
Oh,
they're
gosh.
playing, like, vaguely Chinese music in the background of the sushi restaurant, and it's, like, as loud or louder than the dialogue at any given moment, which really fucking pisses me off. It's just...
Yeah, this...
No,
Wait, I can't. The sushi scene makes me so mad. Okay, as somebody who lived in Japan for 6 years and is a quarter Japanese, I mean, I think anybody would be mad at this, but, like, I just hate it.
also, Paul Woods is supposed to live in the city. Like, he isn't coming from the countryside or anything. And he's supposed to never have heard of sushi. Like, he's heard of sushi, but he's never had sushi and doesn't understand sushi and doesn't understand how to eat sushi.
He calls it the cool new thing.
The
This
cool
is
new thing.
2014.
What the fuck?
This is
Like-
2014.
Sushi was the cool new thing in 1973.
Yeah, that's... Sushi has been a thing for how many centuries? Like...
Centuries in Japan,
Centuries
yeah.
in Japan, and, like, at least decades, like, in America, where, like, people ate it and, like, thought that it was interesting.
Like, sushi has always been, I guess, a cool thing. I mean, I very much like sushi myself, but...
Now, Paul Woods really starts to show his personality as a glorified man-child.
Oh boy!
When he eats the sushi, he takes a bite of the sushi and he keeps biting and chewing and chewing and chewing and some more chewing. And then he finally swallows it.
It's ASMR, but...
Oh my god.
Oh, it's sushi eating ASMR.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. Like, I thought this scene was so weirdly, what's the word, Oedipal?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's, like, kind of babying him through the process.
And he's, like, into it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
And
into
his
it.
whole thing, calling his mom mama. And he's like a 30-plus-year-old man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't do that.
It's
That's...
real. Mama and Papa are frequently referenced. And, like, later he mentions the sushi date and is like, oh, I told Mama about the raw fish. Ooh, she got a kick out of that. And I'm like, why? Why did you have to mention that?
Good Christ, I am 20 years old, and if I told my mother that I had essentially acted like a man-child because I had eaten a food that I hadn't tried before or didn't like, she would chew me out. She would yell at me, like, because that's an asshole thing to do. Like,
Well, he's just never eaten anything other than chili cheese dogs and steak and cake.
oh yeah, by the way, steak and cake.
We'll get to steak and cake.
We will get to steak and cake.
Okay,
That's fucking enough.
the chili cheese dogs that he mentions after the fact that he just had a mental breakdown trying to swallow a single slab of sushi. And
He went
just
to
the
5
fish,
Shades
by
of
the way.
Grey.
Just the fish, by the way, not even the rice. He mentions chili cheese dogs, which is another fucking motif, and I hate it.
He
But
literally, like, just barely swallows the sushi and goes, I guess I'm just more of a chili cheese dog kind
Yeah.
of guy. With that exact inflection.
Yeah.
Can I mention in my notes when I was writing this down, I wrote Philly cheesesteak because to me, white people food is all the same.
It also doesn't matter it doesn't matter that it's chili cheese dogs. He doesn't have to mention them. It could have this movie could have been, like a short ad, like an advertisement. They added so much that didn't have to be there, and it shouldn't be a movie. So she goes to church with his family, sees Kelly again, and then afterwards they go out for steak and cake, which
is exactly what it sounds like.
They go to a restaurant where on the table is a pile of steaks and 2 cakes, and the dad says a bunch of weird things.
Oh, including "Alrighty for the Almighty."
Including "Alrighty to the Almighty," and
I want that tattooed on my face. Like,
Yeah, this scene is just so bizarre. They're like trying this kind of fish out of water comedy style, right?
Mhm.
But all it ends up being is just awkward. It's trying to be awkward, but it's awkwardly being awkward. How does that make sense? It's just unpleasant.
It's not
You
doing that
can't-
well.
it's
Yeah,
because
you can't laugh at it because she's not like she's just being stupid. Because I feel like even I could make up some BS prayer off the top of my head.
Anybody could.
Yeah.
Any person, especially a person who works in advertising, and she literally says that her job is lying. She makes reference to the fact that her entire job is lying.
that's not what
Which isn't
advertising
true.
is.
Which isn't true, but it's what the movie wants you to think is true. But she's not even good at that. She's not even good at lying.
Alright, let's speed through the next bit, because unfortunately the movie doesn't.
Yeah, she goes, so this is where it reveals that Paul is going to Mexico the next day for a month. Didn't tell her. She kind of just follows
For a
him.
mission trip.
For a mission trip to fix a church bell that fell down.
Because
Alright.
apparently the church can't function without its bell.
It's very right savior complexy at Mexico.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the Mexican characters are painted as these weird, like, foreign, like,
Desolate, living in squalor.
yeah.
Well, it's only elderly people and children in that town.
And
Yeah,
can I
there's no
say-
one there's no regular adults.
Nobody's helping fix the church. It's all the white people doing the church work, and then like there's children. And so, do we want to talk about the scene where the problem of evil thing?
Oh, yes. Okay.
This movie tries to address the problem of evil, and then just kind of like somebody says something in bad Spanish, and then it just ends. The scene just
Yeah,
ends.
it doesn't translate it.
They don't translate it. A little girl says it like because the town was destroyed by a hurricane, which is why the bell fell down. She says like if God really loved us, why would He have let the hurricane destroy your town? And Gwen's supposed to answer, but she can't answer because it's a difficult question to answer. But like a lot of people know the reason that like they would have given, but it cuts to Kelly, who was there, just saying something in Spanish that it doesn't translate, and then the scene ends.
The movie just doesn't know what to say, like, doesn't know how to, like, it doesn't have an answer, so it just gives you random Spanish that it doesn't translate. Like, I wonder what she actually said in Spanish.
It doesn't have subtitles either. It
Yeah.
gives you nothing. If you don't know Spanish, which honestly I don't think anybody who isn't white would watch this movie in earnest, I can't imagine anybody understanding what it means.
I mean, like,
It's also just
No.
racist. The
It's
movie is
so
just blatantly
racist.
racist.
like honestly, as someone who's been to Mexico, that's not what Mexico fucking looks like.
No, it's
It
like
was-
a bad Western set.
It looked like a Western set.
Westworld is shaking. That set beat anything I've seen in Westworld.
It's Red Dead Redemption 2. we're gonna get Arthur Morgan going through there. Like, I don't know. I was gonna go off on a tangent about how you can have sex, you can have gay cowboy sex in Red Dead
Okay, we
Redemption
don't
2,
have time
but like
for
we can.
this.
I was gonna make a joke.
For another episode.
Yeah. Okay. So, for
What happens after? Oh, and then her book is discovered.
because she just leaves it
Christianity for
open.
Dummies.
She just leaves this book open in her suitcase on top of her bed, just in plain fucking sight.
She also didn't bring any pants to Mexico with her. She only brought sundresses because she thought she was going to be at a beach, even though she knew she was going to a mission trip.
Like, how dumb are you?
She's painted as a genius, but she's very stupid. Also, Netflix describes her as like. It describes this movie as like one of those movies where a career woman who thinks she has it all finds love. But like she is not a career woman because she's bad at her job and doesn't try. We skipped the scene where she like pitches bad like advertisement suggestions for hair growth because it's not important at all.
Yeah,
but like
what was the point of that?
nothing. It was runtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. It.
Not to mention her friends are all fake and mean.
Oh yeah, she doesn't even like any of her friends and like barely spends time with them. And like it's just and like it's not like she thinks there's nothing missing in her life. She explicitly says at the very beginning, I'm almost 30 and I've never been in a relationship. I want a boyfriend so bad. Like, it's not... The movie doesn't even do the trope that it's trying to do well.
Like, it's bad at itself.
Like Sarah said, it's bad. It's awkward at being awkward, which is a feat in and of itself.
I mean, that was just me in junior high, but I don't want to watch a movie about that, so... Because that was a painful memory. But okay.
Okay, so Mama finds the book and gives it to Paul.
Yeah, and then Paul, by the way, this is where we really see how toxic Paul is just as a person, and why no one should ever date him. It's just... He corners her, and basically, he corners her in this vocal trap by asking her if she has anything to hide, and then saying that he just has a hunch to try. It's that whole thing about, like, when people try to get you to admit that you've done, trying to get you to admit it before they say anything. I don't know. My grandmother's a fucking trip. That's all I'm connecting this to. So anyway,
we gotta spread out our trauma through episodes. We can't just do it all in the first episode. We just gotta leave, like, little hints of it throughout.
Sprinkle it in.
Okay, yeah, but that's, like, don't fucking do that to people. Just as a rule, if anyone doesn't trust you enough to say when something's bothering you and when you're ready to bring up the fact that something's bothering you, then they don't trust you as a person.
Okay, so basically, Paul tells her that he wants to break up with her and that she should go back to whatever city they're from in America, and
they never say.
They never say. It's generic city.
California? It's filmed in California, so I'm gonna assume it's in California.
There didn't seem to be much of a downtown, so I'm gonna say maybe LA.
Maybe. So she begs him to stay with her, and she tries to tell him that she wants to truly be Christian, and that she's been enlightened and she wants to learn. And his reaction to that is, no, go back.
Like, isn't that exactly what you want as a missionary? That's like your dream as a missionary.
You want somebody to care about Jesus.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. So he just sends her back, and she goes. She's also not fired from her job, even though she poured a bunch of blue pills on her boss's head and he yelled at her. And then she left for what was supposed to be a month.
And then she came back and apparently had strep throat because she had to lie about why she was gone.
Yeah. It's just bad. She just still has the job, and...
Oh yeah, her boss doesn't fire her. Like, she keeps her job the whole time.
Next.
Okay, yes. She finds the cool church.
Oh, she has her... So, she already had a Bible study montage, but now she has a second Bible study montage.
This is the genuine Bible study montage. This is the one where she isn't just trying to get the guy, she's trying to get the guy, and that guy is Jesus.
Cool church is where we meet my favorite character, which is background blue hair girl.
Also, this is also a scene that is kind of, like, racist adjacent.
Yeah.
Because it's very much the trope of black people do church better.
Yeah. I'm sure we're gonna find that in more Christian movies as we watch these, because it's definitely something that occurs frequently.
She literally walks into this place, and listen, this is the only place in the entire movie where there's any sort of color saturation. Is in this one church, and there's any sort of, like, any kind of lighting divergence from, like, the one type that we have seen thus far, which I think now, in hindsight, was like their attempt at being fake deep, but like their attempt at being fake deep. And she walks in, and they're already playing jazz music, and everyone's just kind of generically dancing. It wasn't even dancing; they were just kind of swinging.
Oh yeah, there was somebody playing a guitar, but there was no guitar in the music.
There was a tambourine somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. So
So
after she's been going to this church, she goes to their Bible study. She's decided that she's truly found Jesus, and she moves on from Paul. So she decides she's gonna go back to the small town in Mexico and be a teacher there and teach people English. But what motivates her to do this? A letter from one of the girls in the church. Which, by the way, how did this girl from the church find her address to like send her a letter?
There is actually, she does have a second confrontation with Paul, and she's
does.
like crying. So Paul comes back, she has a confrontation, he's dating Kelly now, obviously, and they, like, have a really awkward conversation on a bench where she's like, I'm into Jesus now, and he's like, good for you, and then they just
the way that I would rewrite this movie is that I would focus more on the fact that she found Jesus on her own, Like, she found that religion on her own.
Which is what I think they were trying to do with this movie, was be like, no, he can't help her. She has to find Jesus on her own,
Yeah.
which is why he rejects her the first time.
But here's the thing, to make it more interesting, like, that doesn't mean that she still needs Paul.
Yeah, she doesn't need Paul anymore.
Yeah, because...
It's like Jane Eyre, where you're like, oh, so she's like, has her own life now, and she's like, she's found herself, she doesn't need the guy at the end, but she has to get the guy at the end, because societal norms expect her to get the guy at the end.
And also it's an ad for Christian Mingle.
And also it's an ad for Christian Mingle, it has to end up with the girl from Christian Mingle getting together.
And in this interaction with Paul, she finds out that Paul is with Kel.
Yes.
Kel.
Kel from Bible Camp.
Fuck.
So then, yeah, she gets a letter from the girl who asked the question about the problem of evil in Mexico, which she didn't even answer. She was only in Mexico for like 2 days. Then she left. Like, it's not clear how long she was there, but it really felt like she was only there for 2 days. Meanwhile, everybody else was there for like a month. But this girl chose her to send a letter to, telling her how much she's helped her. Even though Kelly answered her question, Gwen didn't talk to her at all. Sorry, Gwyneth. Didn't talk to her at all. And so I don't know how she found her address. Maybe Paul gave it to her to like try to get her to go or something. That would have been an interesting thing to mention. But also,
can we talk about the accent?
Oh boy.
No,
the letter.
We can't talk about the accent.
The letter.
I fell to the floor. I literally fell down shrieking. It was awful. It was beyond my possibility of thinking. It was like, it sounded more Indian than Mexican.
It also sounded Italian.
Yeah, it was like an Indian-Italian accent that had no like even a hint of Mexican.
So this was the point where the movie killed me. I died.
Yeah, so this like 11-year-old girl, she's supposed to be Mexican, and I believe her exact words were, "Me sorry for my English." It's like
sorry for my English. Like somebody like an Italian chef in The Simpsons would say.
It's Mario. Mario Extended Universe.
Mario Extended Universe.
And if our glowing recommendation hasn't convinced you to watch this movie, then this letter should be the reason you watch this movie.
It's so moving, you know? I really felt for that flat, one-dimensional Mexican character that the white people
unnamed,
who watch this...
or was she named?
Maria.
Maria.
Yeah, Maria and Jose, all of the named Mexican characters in this movie.
And Jose doesn't have a single line.
It takes place. Jose just stares at them creepily.
No, wait, there's Eduardo. There's Eduardo, the one kid.
Oh, Eduardo, the kid with the cowboy hat.
The straw cowboy hat, yeah. But, oh my god, okay. Fuck, what was I gonna say?
Then she goes to Mexico and becomes a teacher, and then next Christmas, because this movie starts on Christmas and it has to end on Christmas, so Paul shows up and they get together and they kiss. And then at the end, after the credits, he proposes to her.
Yeah, which, by the way...
Sorry, that was a cat sneeze.
They didn't film an actual proposal, it's just a photograph.
Well, because the movie starts out with real photos of real Christian Mingle, because there's like a whole theme of the movie that like advertisements are bad. Advertisements are evil and lying, except for the Christian Mingle advertisements, which are real people who really met on the site. Because nobody's ever done advertisements that are real people who really use the service that actually works.
Yeah, it's like a little bookend kind of like, okay,
yeah.
Now go on Christian Mingle and you can find this too.
Also, ignoring the fact that like they're like, oh, Christian Mingle advertisements are real. All other advertisements are fake, and if it's fake, it's bad. You just made me watch a movie where two fake people fell in love using Christian Mingle. You're discrediting yourself and your own entire argument by making the movie.
Also, this has bothered me every single one of the 2 times that I have seen this movie. But how did she get that teaching job in Mexico when she can't even speak Spanish?
Yeah, it's an established plot. It's an established plot point that she can't speak any Spanish, and yet somehow she ends up being an English teacher in Mexico?
Like, I'm pretty sure, like, I once had a French teacher straight out of Paris who didn't speak a word of English, and oh boy, we didn't get any French out of her because we didn't have anything to compare it to. Like, you're just a bad teacher. Like,
I will say that there are, like, you can, in Japan, if you go there, you can just show up, not know any Japanese, and teach English. That's something a lot of people do. Like, it really depends on the country, on whether or not they'll let you just show up without knowing the language that you're teaching from, just knowing the language that you're teaching in. Like, it's sometimes, weird. It does really happen. Like, it's not that weird, but it's also, I don't like it personally.
But also, why would you want, okay, if you're not even going to take any sort of, like, if you're not going to take any sort of initiative to learn the native language of a country, why would you move to that country? Like, you're just...
Because the opportunity is there. Like,
Okay,
I know people who, like,
And I just realized what the kind of person I sounded like there. But...
No, but like, it does make sense that, like, if you're planning... I don't understand why somebody would want to learn a language where the person teaching you doesn't know the language, but I know that people do it. Like, my mom did it to some extent. Like, she does actually know some Japanese, but when she went to Japan, she mostly only knew English, and they literally... The only requirement for teaching English in Japan is knowing English. Like, and it's kind of just, like, the culture of, like, when you get into the class, the kids are not allowed to speak Japanese anymore, and, like, they just kind of immersion as, like, that's how you learn the language, which I guess makes sense, but I don't think it makes sense in this context.
No, it doesn't at all.
Okay, so I guess final thoughts?
Have you heard the good news?
Okay, so yeah, let's see, like, what is the purpose of this movie?
Make you make a Christian Mingle account.
Yeah, but it doesn't succeed at anything at times. It doesn't succeed at being romantic or a comedy or even an advertisement. And if it was just super sleazy, Christian Mingle ads everywhere, which there were like 3.
Not
But
enough,
if it was,
though.
yeah, if it was like super over romanticized, like, oh, just find the perfect Christian man of your dreams. But this guy's an asshole.
And
She has to throw away like her job, her.
Well, I mean, you can't be a woman
aspirations.
with a job. Are you
Yeah,
kidding?
like, who is this catering to? This is catering
It's catering to
like,
people who already believe it.
Yeah.
It's
that's
a
it.
rom-com for people because
So
people
you're
who
not
think that
advertising.
regular rom-coms are too sleazy.
Exactly.
That's
And you're
what
not
it's doing.
advertising because the point of advertising is bringing in new customers.
I don't.
You're just reinforcing the beliefs of people who would already like be on board with your product.
It's an ad, but it's not an ad because it's weird.
It's like the Lego movie, but Jesus.
Yes.
Except, no, the Lego movie was successful because I wanted to go out and buy more Lego, even though I already collect Lego.
Well,
Okay.
well,
Okay,
don't you
well,
want to
yeah,
go
but
buy
you
more?
already collected Lego. As
That's
somebody
true.
who doesn't collect Lego, the Lego movie didn't want me to collect more Lego, but it was still a movie.
It was still
that I
fun.
wanted to watch.
It was still fun.
It had another purpose other than just like nothing. There's nothing to this movie.
I wanna
There's no
point-
romance, no comedy, no advertising. It's just
It's
there it is.
bad.
So I went online to look at some reviews for this movie because I was curious as to see how other people felt, and most other people kind of felt the same as us, where they're like, "This is just like a shitty advertisement rom-com that's not funny or romantic." But I did find one on this website that's like commonsensemedia.com, which is like my mom actually used this when I was younger to like determine if a movie was appropriate for us. This movie is rated like 10 plus are allowed to watch it. But, like, the reviews are so bad. And one of them is a negative review from a Christian
Oh boy.
who says that it's not Christian enough.
Which is actually
Which is a very valid
Yeah.
argument.
That is a very valid argument,
like
actually.
this movie isn't teaching anything about Christianity, which is another thing it fails at. Like there were Bible verses mentioned in passing, but none of them were explained. None of them were no detail was gone into any of them. We didn't learn anything about Jesus.
I wish we learned more about Jesus in this movie.
I know nothing new about Christianity that I did coming into this. Like, oh boy, I already had a limited knowledge.
Yeah, this movie is just like it's just pathetic. Yeah, it doesn't succeed at anything.
Also, the
Anything.
acting is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, the acting is bad, the cinematography is bad, the lighting is bad, the color palettes are bad, which is like I am a fucking slut for good color in movies. Like, now this is officially a rated R podcast because I said the word slut.
I said fuck like within the first 3 minutes. It's already like
Okay, that's valid.
fuck. That's gonna get demonetized if we put this on YouTube.
Oh no. Oh no.
Didn't I already say that? Make a joke about putting. I made a joke about putting a cross up of someone something. I made a joke about Jesus about being horny for Jesus.
I don't think this can.
This is not
be-
monetized.
this
So
cannot
like
be
maybe we'll
monetized.
start a Patreon.
We
You
gotta
can
do a
support us there.
Patreon. If you guys like this, please like let us know if you want us to make a Patreon, because otherwise I don't think we're gonna be able to do this.
Please pay us your tithings.
All right. So I think that's Christian Mingle.
That's Christian Mingle.
That's
Yeah.
Christian
it's
Mingle.
just it's a nothing movie. Watch it and point and laugh at how dumb it is.
That's
Watch
movie
it with
is
your
fucking
friends while
nothing.
you're drunk.
yeah.
Oh my
All right.
god.
Watch it with gays while you're drunk.
Okay, yes.
All right. So next week we're gonna be watching.
Left Behind. the Nicolas Cage film. I don't have it pulled up or anything.
It's
but,
basically,
like,
if y'all have seen Con Air, it's Con Air but with the Rapture.
it has a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And that's all you need to know. See you guys next week.